Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Corey Smialek. Corey, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So looking forward to getting into your story, Corey. Before we kind of get to that point, I want to ask you, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
All time would be Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, and Dorian Yates.
All right, cool.
Always,
Why Phil Heath number one?
I've always thought he had the craziest genetics, and when I was younger, I'd always watch his videos. And when I started watching his videos on YouTube, he was probably one of the first bodybuilder I ever saw that made me kind of get interested into the whole scheme of working out and wanting to grow muscle.
Excellent, man. Love that. All right. At what age did you start lifting weights, Corey? And why did you start lifting weights at that specific age?
I started around 21. I was pretty much growing up. I was 120 to 130 pounds at 5'9". So I was always very small frame. And I didn't want to bodybuild at first. I just wanted to put on weight and not be such a skinny person. And then up until about 3 years ago, I started doing the whole bodybuilding, and that's where I really got interested in with lifting weights, like taking it seriously, and not just going to the gym and then going home and eating pizza and mac and cheese
Right. Cool. All right. Excellent. Now, let's transition. I want to transition a little bit into your childhood and your upbringing. So, where did you grow up? Did you play any sports? What was your childhood like? Talk a little bit about that up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there, Corey.
I grew up in Mechanicville, a little Italian town in New York, kind of near Albany. And I played a lot of sports growing up. I played baseball, basketball, soccer, played a little bit of lacrosse. I never was really interested in sports. My parents, they forced me to play all the sports. But I'd rather have just sat home and hung out. I did kind of like baseball, though. That was probably my favorite of all of the sports I played.
All right. So why weren't you into sports? Why did you just kind of want to hang out at home? What's that all about?
As a kid, I was kind of lazy, honestly. I rather have just been at home or hanging out with my friends outside running around. I really didn't want to go play sports and go all the practices. It just wasn't really for me.
Okay. Only child, or do you have siblings?
I have an older brother. He's 37, and then my sister, she's younger. She's 22.
Okay, so you're the middle kid, huh?
Yeah, I'm 30, so right dab in the middle.
All right, cool. All right, talk about your parents a little bit. What were they like? What was your relationship like with them? Did they kind of instill anything in you that kind of still holds true in your life to this point?
Yeah, my parents have always been there for me, especially with bodybuilding. They've supported me from day one when I told them I wanted to try to make it to the high levels of bodybuilding. And they've instilled a lot in me to always work hard and not give up, and more be like a loving person and always try to help others in need and not just always worry about yourself.
What did your parents do in terms of their careers?
My mom was always worked with special ed most of her life. She teaches the kids at schools. And then my dad's trucking manager for FedEx. And then he worked other trucking companies as well.
Awesome, man. Okay, now New York, most of us, when we hear New York, we think of New York City, which for some of us that has some, some interesting connotations that come along with that, but there's a whole state of New York. So the area that you grew up, was it, a pretty blue collar, a lot of hardworking people? Like, talk to us a little bit about the specific area in New York that you grew up, Corey, please.
Yeah, it was the upstate part of New York. It's a lot different from the city. You actually go out to my area and you'll see like farms, and a lot of there'll be farms, and all of a sudden there'll be like nice kind of like smaller city areas, but nothing like New York City itself. And I was in Mechanicville and then Latham, a lot of hardworking people in those areas. A lot of stuck up people also as well. You got a lot of people are snobby.
Yeah. Well, you got those everywhere, right, man? So talk to me a little bit about academic school. Were you into school, or did you just kind of go because you had to?
Growing up, like in younger ages, I was really interested in school, and I had really good grades. And as I got older, I kind of drifted away from the whole school and started hanging out with different crowd and not going to school as much. But I did attend college and got my degree, but I was never really 100% sure what I wanted to do with working at school and stuff.
Okay. So did you, as you kind of got into your teenage years and stuff, did you get into partying and stuff, or
Yeah,
what was that like?
yeah, I partied a lot growing up, a lot of drinking and smoking and all that. And most of my weekends would be trying to find the next party, and then haven't been feeling like crap the next day. And luckily I got that out of my system pretty young though, because did that in my teenage years. So like by like 21, 22, I had really no desire to do that anymore.
All right. All right. So let's you mentioned you went to college. What did you go to college for? And what I really want to get out of you, Corey, is you kind of mentioned earlier a couple minutes ago that you didn't really have any direction, or you didn't really know what you want to do with your life or whatever. Even it sounds like maybe once you got to college. So what did you go to college to study? What's your degree in? And then talk to us a little bit about when you really started to get maybe a very specific direction for your life. Was that kind of when lifting weights and bodybuilding came on the scene? Is that what really gave you clear direction for your life?
Yes, I'd say bodybuilding really helped me a lot, because bodybuilding, like, you set in stone every day, you do the same thing repetitively, and you start learning. And bodybuilding's helped me grow mentally and physically big time. It's put me like in a stricter pattern, and I'm always trying to strive to do better now. When I was younger, I didn't really have many good surroundings, so I really wasn't like, I was just not really sure what I was going to do. But when I went to college, I had gone for criminal justice. I originally was going to be a cop. That was my dream, was to be a cop and then keep going to school, and then eventually work for forensics. But I decided that I wasn't really sure I wanted to do that after a while, and I stopped doing that. And then I started working like into fitness and making programs, and I really enjoyed bodybuilding a lot. And I've tried to do my best with fitness and make that my future.
Yeah, yeah. So is that kind of what you've been doing since you graduated college? Is just like training people and coaching and kind of just making your career in the fitness industry then?
Yes, that's what I've been. Yeah, the last 3 years, I just got into like higher coaching now for like doing like clients for doing shows. But before I was doing just like diet coaching and all that, and now I'm trying to. I've been with Andrew Barry for 3 years now, so I think I've learned a lot about the process of coaching for shows. So I wanted to give that a try, as well as just doing wellness and fitness for people in general. I
Cool.
do really
Yeah.
enjoy.
What's that? Go ahead.
I do enjoy the whole aspect of bodybuilding and fitness in general, and I just find it very interesting. I like being able to see others better themselves and watch people make progress, and it's just very interesting to me. I enjoy it a lot, because I've always wanted to do something in life that I wake up every day and I'm happy to do it. I don't want to be like a lot of people where they wake up miserable and just drag on with their day. And I think bodybuilding and the fitness industry has really made me happy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. We're gonna get into your coach Andrew Barry here in a little bit because he's been on the podcast a couple times. I saw on your Instagram that Nate Spear for this last competition helped you with some posing, and he's been on the podcast 2, 3, 4 times. Great people. But before we get there, so at 21 you start lifting weights. Now I want to ask you, before we kind of get deeper into the bodybuilding talk, do you remember you mentioned Phil Heath? Was he kind of the first like IFBB pro that you actually saw, whether that was through YouTube or on a magazine cover? Like, when were you first exposed to a bodybuilder or bodybuilding, Corey?
I was hanging out with my friends, and I didn't really know too much about working out and bodybuilding, but a few of my friends were really into working out, and they were like, "Oh, you should start working out. You shouldn't like look so small. You might want to put some size on it eventually." And they were just like watching these videos when we were hanging out together, and they were watching Phil Heath. I remember seeing it. I was like, "Holy crap, that looks crazy!" And then when they had left, I ended up watching Phil Heath. I started watching some Ronnie Coleman videos, and it was like, I just found it very interesting about how someone could look like that, and how I thought maybe one day I might give that a try. At first, I was like, there's no way I could look like that. But
so talk about, did you join a gym at 21, and talk about how you kind of started lifting weights, and then transition into some like your first competition, and how you kind of got into specifically bodybuilding.
Yeah, when I was 21, I first started working out. I was probably like the average person where I go to the gym and I would try to do like every single muscle every day, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And then I had like no sense of diet, so as soon as I would get out, I would go eating like fast food or something. So I went from being really skinny to like gaining a lot of weight, and then not liking the way I looked. Then eventually, my one friend had actually told me that I'm always at the gym working out. Maybe I should try to like compete or do something with it, not just come to the gym. And at first I was like, yeah, maybe not. And then I started thinking about maybe I should give it a try. And that's actually when I contacted Andrew 3 years ago and decided to give bodybuilding a try. And then I didn't know it was so awesome. And then I fell in love with it. And now it's become my lifestyle.
Yeah. So how did you connect with Andrew then? I know he's kind of up in that northeast area, but how did you know to reach out to him? How did you get connected with him?
My friend had actually recommended him. He said that he was a good coach, especially for people starting and getting in the groove of things, and he'd be able to really well work with me. So I checked his Instagram out, and I saw a lot of his clients, and I liked the way they looked, and we talked, and I was interested in having him help me out. And little by little, I saw very good progress, and now I've just been very happy with the help he's given me. Then I ended up meeting Nate through Andrew also as well, who has helped me out a lot. Both two very intelligent people in the bodybuilding industry.
Yeah. What so when you hired Andrew 3 years ago, is that when you first started to get prepared to compete then? And when was your first competition?
Yes, when I first met him, I was I think it was six. Yeah, we decided 16 weeks out we would start after a little bit of training and figuring things out. And then we started leaning down for my first, I think it was like 16, 17 weeks when I first met him. We did my very first show. And I always had social anxiety. So it was very big thing for me to step on stage, even though it was a small show. Having social anxiety, it was a big deal for me. And every time I've done a couple shows now since then, and every time I do another show, it's just a lot easier to be able to step on stage and not feel it just feels like a bunch of people watching me at once. That always was a big thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're basically in your underwear, so that probably adds to it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how did that first I mean, outside of overcoming some of the social anxiety, how did that first competition go? I mean, did you enjoy it? Did you win? Talk about the results a little bit.
I did light heavyweight. I think I was 184, 185 my very first show. I ended up winning my class. It felt really good to win, and I was like, you get like a nice win high, but then it dies down quickly because you know that you got to just get better and better to make it to the big leagues. Like being 5'9", I would assume that for me to make it, I'm going to have to be 245 or more easily on stage. So it's just one big long process, being patient and working. It's just as hard as every day until you reach your goals. But it was a lot of fun doing my very first show. It was really nice to be able to finally face a fear and be able to overcome it and then feel better and more confident in myself.
Right. Okay. Now we got to touch on this social anxiety thing because I was actually with a client of mine earlier today here at the gym. I was having a conversation with her about, some different things, but specifically what we were talking about is just like we all have, we're a part of the human experience is having struggle, having issues. That's just part of our experience as human beings. We all got struggles. We all have issues. None of us is perfect. I personally have struggled with anxiety since I was like a tween, and mine's more like performance anxiety. Like when I was growing up playing sports, I would just get so overwhelmingly nervous, like before a game, and think I'd have to be perfect, and my palms would get all sweaty. It was just a mess. But this social anxiety, is this something that you've struggled with, Corey, since you were a young person? And is that a part of the reason why you didn't like to play sports when you were younger then?
That was a big part, but yes, I probably had social anxiety from just like almost up till beginning of middle school, actually, when I started going to school and being around a lot more people. And I was kind of made fun of a lot, like when I was younger, for being so skinny and all that. And it just kind of like was hard for me to like be around a lot of people, because when you were made fun of for being skinny and all that, you kind of always felt like when people were looking at you, they always were saying something or making fun of you. So I just growing up so young like that, those thoughts always stuck in my head, and they continued to stay with me and as an adult. But as I competed and did more bodybuilding and met more people and started to get out in the real world more and meet people who weren't like those growing up, you start to see that that's just it's getting part of life, and things do get better. And I still do have social anxiety to some point, but I can usually overcome it for the most part.
So when you when you have this social anxiety, like I can describe my type of anxiety to people, but what do you feel like? What's going on in your head, and what are you feeling when you start maybe having a little episode or starting to feel this anxiety coming on?
Well, I have anxiety in general too, but social anxiety definitely is where it gets the worst. But like if I go out in public or if I'm around a lot of people and there's a lot of talking, I'll just like a lot of talking at once will sometimes get me going. I'll get like really sweaty and like really anxious, and like I can't like sit still, and I'll like move around a lot. And it's kind of like I'm like on like the go, ready to get out of there, and don't want to be around that environment anymore. Like the whole calmness that I had before is completely gone. Like if I got super anxiety, I don't want to sit down and relax. I'll overthink a lot. That's probably the number one thing when I get anxiety is I overthink things. Then it's like a constant thought in your head that you just want to go away.
And
I know a lot of people have anxiety common.
yeah. And how do you now as an adult, how do you kind of work through some of that anxiety, or what are some things that you put into practice to kind of help overcome that?
The gym definitely helps overcome my anxiety. Sometimes I get really anxious and I go do cardio, a little bit of abs. That'll calm me down. Sometimes I'll lay down and I'll do breathing practices that can help. But if I'm out in public and there's no way to calm down, sometimes I'll go in the bathroom and just like relax for a minute and try to like ease myself down. But sometimes there's just nothing you can do if it's like just too much. But it always gets better though.
Right. Do you have any like sayings or quotes or mantras that you kind of like speak to yourself in some of those anxious moments, or not necessarily?
Uh, Not really. No, I usually just I'm like, I just like go away. God damn it! I don't want to be anxious anymore. This is usually how it is. It's like just sometimes really hard for me to get past it. And a lot of people will tell you to just calm down, do this and do that. But if you have anxiety to the full extent, it's kind of hard to do some of that stuff too. It's not as easy as doing it.
Right.
Like people will say.
For sure. Okay, now what year did you do your first competition then with Andrew?
Uh, 2019.
Okay, 2019. So talk to us then a little bit about some of the other competitions you did. I know you did one just here pretty recently within the last month, but after the show in 2019, what other competitions have you done?
After 2019, I had done a show a few weeks later. I did the Boston show. I placed third in that, and I took a year off and came back and did nationals. I placed seventh in the light heavy, and then I took 2 years off, and so that's 3 years. And now it puts me where I just did the Connecticut show, and I had plans of doing nationals, but I've there's a few things I wanted to like work on. Like I wanted to be bigger, of course, but I've always, for some reason, I've had a weird stomach issue, and I've had a lot of stomach problems a lot lately. And after I did the Connecticut show, my stomach started acting up again, and it just put me up too far behind. So I was like, there's just no way I can be ready for nationals at this point. So I just wanted to just focus on taking 2 years off to grow. The only thing that really stands in my way with bodybuilding is my stomach. I don't know. Something's wrong with my stomach, and I've gone to the doctors many times and no one's figured out what's wrong with it. So that's the only obstacle I really have with bodybuilding is when my stomach acts up.
Okay, we got to get into this, man, because I've had a lot of stomach issues, and I know from having hundreds of conversations just through the podcast and then spending a lot of time on Instagram, there's a lot of bodybuilders that have gut issues, stomach issues, and I listened to Flex Lewis on one of his podcasts after he had announced his official retirement. He said the number one reason why he retired and stepped away was because of stomach issues. So there's a 7, 8 time, whatever he is,
Yeah.
212 Mr. Olympia. And he said the number one issue why he stepped away from competing was his stomach issue. So like, what type of stomach issues are we talking about? And like, let's get into this for a quick minute, because this is big in the bodybuilding realm. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it's real life, man.
I think that's the number one reason what makes bodybuilding hard. When you're eating 6, 7 meals a day, and some of these meals are massive, when your stomach's messed up, it's just going to make everything hard. Because even if you had the perfect stomach to eat all that food, it's a lot. But it's been about 6 months. I had for about half a year, something happened to my stomach where every day I would puke 10 to 20 times a day. I would have convulsions. I wouldn't be able to hold any food down. I could not work out, and I had to just stay at home and live on the couch. I don't know what happened. I was puking bile. I did endoscopy, and they found inflammation in my stomach. I think I have something with acid reflux, where if I eat a lot of food or over time, my stomach can't handle the pressure, so it like fails and it reacts by the acid. And I just reject all of it. And after my show, I had the opposite, where it was not coming out of my mouth, but my bottom side. And it was just like 10 or more times every day. So I was like, I can't really focus on going for nationals with my stomach like that, because it adds to the stress. But the stomach thing's really weird. I would like to go in December again and try to do a colonoscopy and check my gallbladder and see if there's something, as I think it is stemming from my acid reflux. If I don't take my omeprazole and stay on tack, my acid reflux gets crazy. But if I take my medicine, and I just started taking apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon every meal, and I have these digestive enzymes I've been taking, and I take a tablet of licorice every meal. It seems that my stomach has been really well lately and is not acting up like it used to. As I keep on track of it and watch it, but I still do worry, because you never know, anything could happen. I'm not bulking right now. I'm not eating the massive amounts of food that I had before. So we'll have to see when I'm eating 5,000 or more calories a day, how my stomach reacts. It's just a scary thing, because the worst thing that happens is when you do something you love and something stands in your way that you can't control. It's like a punch in your face, because you want to keep doing what you're doing, but sometimes things will prevent that, no matter how hard you want it.
Right. And I mean, setting the bodybuilding stuff aside, I mean, just trying to live a normal kind of healthy life. I mean, that's the first thing you'd want to do, because I mean, bodybuilding is a temporary thing. So trying to get this set just so you can function, quote unquote, normally would be great. Now, have you ever heard of Austin Stout or not?
No, I never have.
Okay, well, once we're done here, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about him. He's a prep coach, and he's like a very holistically minded individual. He's actually Felix Norman's prep coach and coach. He's the guy that won the overall at North Americans this year, and he had some very severe gut issues, and Austin was kind of able to help him overcome that. And then obviously he won North Americans this year. So we'll chat offline here more about that. But now, in terms of obviously the gut issues are kind of like the thing that are holding you back. But what would you like to accomplish, Corey, in terms of competitive bodybuilding at some point when you get these stomach issues taken care of?
When my stomach issues are all taken care of, I never have to worry about having a stomach ache again. I do want to be able to come back next in the 2 years, do nationals, and work on getting my pro card. I don't want to just compete and just keep competing. I want to make progress, get my pro card, and I want to compete at a pro level and try to make it as far as I can go with bodybuilding. I do believe in myself that I can make it far, as long as I don't give up and I keep trying hard. And it's because everybody starts at the bottom. It's just those that never give up and they keep believing in themselves are the ones that are going to make it. So I really want to make it fly. I enjoy bodybuilding, and it would honestly be a dream come true if I made it to even just compete in the high pro levels, and do pro shows, and anything above that would be amazing. I would like to do that. Let's say the hardest thing with bodybuilding, besides the stomach issue, is posing. I was never a very good poser, and it's freaking hard. That's why I reached out to have Nate help me, because you could look big in the mirror and flex while you're working out, but when it comes down to posing, I do lack in posing, and that's my other thing that I'm working on the next 2 years, is try to be able to pose correctly and show off my muscle better and not like make errors in posing.
Mhm. What's for you, Corey, specifically, like what's the difficult thing about posing? Is it just like the mobility aspect of it? Is it just kind of the getting in the poses? Like what is kind of hard for you in terms of that?
The hardest part for posing, I would say, is probably my back shots. Being able to get my lats to pop out as well as to keep my hamstrings to show seems to be a little difficult for me. I'll have one or the other. I can make my hamstrings show, then my back's not as big, or if I'll make my back bigger, my hamstrings won't show. That's hard. And then I also had injured my shoulder a while ago, and it's been a little bit hard sometimes doing like front doubles. I'll feel like I'm leveled out when I flex for my pose, but in the pictures, I'll always have my left side will be higher up. So I'm trying to work on getting my arm to lower down and keeping it that way. But I know in time posing will be a lot better. It's just all hard work. You just got to keep at it. So
Yeah.
I've gotten before and didn't pose as much as I should, but now since my last show, I've been posing every day, and I'm trying to just take it just like everything else. Like I'll do my cardio and abs every day. I got to do my posing every day.
Absolutely. So, judges, people around you, I mean, Andrew, Nate, I mean, I can tell you what I think from just pictures I've seen of you on Instagram, but what's the feedback from judges and people around you in terms of, what are some of your bright spots? What are some of your strong points in terms of, a competitive bodybuilder?
For my strong points, I always get complimented on my legs. That's like the very first thing people will say is my legs. Right now, my coach wants me to slow down on my legs and do them a little bit each week and focus more on my upper body, which I do. Leg day to me is my favorite day because it's the only workout you do that makes you feel like you're going to die. And it's just a really cool feeling to be able to push past that. So I do really enjoy leg day. I get a lot of compliments on my legs, my traps, my shoulders, and my back. I do my weak points. I would say would be I need bigger arms, bigger chest, and I got to work on my lower glutes. That was one. To me, lower glutes is probably my weakest point. That'll be my main focus for the next 2 years.
When you say when you say lower glutes, are you talking about like the glute hamstring tie-in, like
Yes.
that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not there right now. It's not as my upper glutes are just way too big and they overpower my lower glutes. So it just when you flex, it doesn't look right. So that'll be a big area because I did kind of neglect that area because it's not really just a weird area. So I wasn't really ever focusing on that. And now I am going to incorporate more things that are going to hit that. And that'll be a big thing. And trying to get my arms bigger to match my legs because I don't want to have massive legs and arms that don't match them because then he just looks unproportionate.
Okay, now I got to ask you, what are some of the movements you're going to incorporate to work on that glute hamstring tie-in? I mean, is it just going deeper into like your squat movements, reverse lunges, kickbacks, stuff like that? What does Andrew want you to do in terms of those movements for that specific area?
He hasn't said too much about the legs. He's morely focused on my making my arms bigger. That was his main thing was make my arms bigger. But for glutes, when I saw Nate in person and I was posing for Nate, he mentioned that I need to work on my my lower glutes as well. And I've been incorporating kickbacks. I do the sumo belt squat, and I really like the hip thrusts a lot. Those seem to be the hip thrusts. Seem to get my lower glutes the most when I pause at the top and try to hold it with lightweight and not focus on heavy. Because as soon as I throw heavy on the hip thrust, my whole connection with my lower glutes is out the window. But those are the three workouts I really enjoy a lot for glutes. So I'm going to incorporate it from now on. I'll probably want to do hamstrings or do any type of curl. I'll probably squeeze as hard as I can when I go at the top to try to hit that tie-in also as well.
Okay, awesome, man. What's the arm training look like?
Well, I do the biceps and triceps twice a week, and I split them up. And for biceps, I've been doing a lot. I've actually a lot of improvement in my arms lately, and I've been doing a lot of hammer curls at the incline hammer curls, and I've been doing a lot of the preacher skull crusher ones. I've watched a few of Mountain Dog's videos on arm workouts, and I've taken a liking to his tricep and bicep routine. I think using the preacher seat to do the mean, not the skull crushers, it's the preacher seat to use the spider. That's what it is, spider curls going over your head seems to really hit my bicep really well. I really like doing that. I usually do that twice a week. That one itself. And for triceps, I just doing the pull downs with the rope and the straight bar. Then I'm doing the close grip bench. Just not heavy focus, just slow, moderate, a good pump. I was never really big on lifting heavy. It just my joints don't really seem to take a liking to super heavy weight, and then I get setbacks when my elbows and my knees hurt. It just seems to put me behind. If I do moderate weight, I usually seem to be okay. I don't ever have to. I don't have too many injuries, so I can keep moving ahead.
Right. Now, from my perspective, I said, I kind of had my perspective when I saw some of your photos on Instagram. I mean, does anybody ever talk to you just about kind of like your natural structure, that it's very conducive to bodybuilding, or not really?
No, yeah, a lot of people have said my waist is very small, and I have very proportionate muscles. I get those. That's brought up a lot. They said having the small waist is really going to help me out a lot. Because my waist never really does get that big. When I was younger, my waist was like 26 inches, and my clothes were so small. And even when I bulked up at my highest, I was in the 270s. My waist was like 35. It just doesn't really get that big.
That's for bodybuilding, man. That's a genetic blessing right there, Corey. Right?
Yeah.
For sure, man. I just noticed your front double bicep that I saw on one of your recent posts on Instagram. You can definitely see that structure. I mean, you've got some bicep peaks, and then you've got that tiny waist, and you got those quads flaring out. So that's definitely, in terms of just a genetic blessing, again, to use that terminology. Bodybuilding is a lot of it is structure, and God's blessed you with some decent structure. So that's a positive in terms of putting on that mass and progressing. So since we're kind of on the training topic, Corey, we mentioned arms a little bit, but what is your general training philosophy? How do you kind of train, your body parts? How do you kind of set up your split? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yep, I just started a new split, and I'm training doing chest and triceps. And then I'll do back the next day. For back, I've seen a lot of improvement with my back. As soon as I took back twice a week, I do pull downs and pullovers on one back day. And later in the week, I'll do all rows and extensions. And I feel like as soon as I switched my back to that format, I saw very fast progress in my back. It was a lot being able to just do pull downs or a pullover and not do the rows and the pull downs. I feel like was able for me to focus on just those muscles better. When I was mixing them together, by the time I got to my rows, I felt a lot weaker from the pull downs. And right now I'm doing quads, hams, and glutes. So I'll just do those a little bit once a week. Nothing crazy because I'm not really trying to focus on my legs. Maybe once every other week. And then I do my calves a couple sets every other week, maybe. I don't really need to work on my calves. But shoulders, I'll do I'd always do front and side delts together. And I like to do my rear delts separated. I feel like I get a better feel in my delts. So I work all three parts of my delts. Usually by the time I get to like the rear, it's pretty tired.
Okay. Now, in terms of volume, what does your volume look like for, some of your bigger muscle groups? Are you a guy that kind of gets to that top set, goes all out, and then does some back off sets? Are you, just, doing 3-4 sets of 10 to 12, 15 reps? What does your volume kind of look like in rep scheme?
I like high volume. I've enjoyed doing high volume. Like when I do back, I'll do pull downs. I'll do 15 sets for pull down. With the pull downs, when I do rows, I'll do 15 sets with rows, maybe 12 sets, and then throw in like an extension at the end to stretch my back out. I usually don't, for my workouts all together, I usually go for a 10 to 12 rep range. I try to go as slow as I possibly can go each rep. I don't really worry about going any heavier unless it's pretty light for me. But the main focus is going as slow as I can and getting the 10 to 12 reps with complete focus on the time over 10. The time and tension seems to work very well for me. I don't like to rush my lifts. I don't really don't really go to failure. I would say I just go to like when it burns and like it's usually light enough where even though it's burning and I want to stop, it's at a light amount where I can still keep pushing another 2 to 3 reps. And then that's when I really feel it, especially for legs. I've never lifted heavy for legs ever. I've never on the hack squat. People are well. In the hack squat, I usually never go over 3 plates. I don't really need to. I've never had to, and my legs have always seemed to grow. Leg press, I don't really usually probably go over 4 plates. Leg extensions, I don't really lift that much. So everybody always thinks I lift super heavy for legs because of how big they are.
Cool. Cool. Love that, man. Where do you train at? It looks like you have a Bev's shirt on. Do you train there regularly or what?
I wish I did. I'm not anywhere near Bev's. It would be. I do really enjoy Bev's in Connecticut, and I've never been to the one in the city. But there's some nice gyms. I go to ABC in Latham. It's just like a local gym, but it does have everything you need. It's pretty massive actually. I'd say it's probably got 60 or more pieces of equipment. So it has every single thing you need. And a lot of the equipments are really unique pieces. So I'm able to do some pretty cool workouts from time to time. But Bev's would be very nice to work at, but I'm not, it's like 3 hours away. So I'll just have to only train there when I'm around the area.
What do you think, Corey, about, this is something that, you know, for decades now, or for years now, it's kind of like this big debate, you know, free weights versus machines. And actually my perspective over the last, year or so has changed a lot on this, but, do you think that, you know, you just specifically need to focus on free weights? Do you think you should mix them? Do you think machines have a place? Like, what's your thought process on that?
I think for everybody, I mean, everybody's going to be different. Everybody grows different. And people have their certain techniques they like and what they enjoy doing. But for me, I like cables and free weight. I would probably say that's the best. I haven't bench pressed in years. I haven't deadlifted in years. I haven't squatted with the barbell squat in years. It's pretty much machines, cables. I do like dumbbells for biceps. I do like dumbbells for shoulders. Shoulders and biceps, I'll use dumbbells. I'll sometimes use dumbbells for back, like rows. But I find a big liking for like legs is pretty much all machines, machine weights. I like to feel better. I never really liked doing like barbell squats and all that. It just felt weird. I don't like deadlifts. I always like make my back feel uneasy. But I like cables a lot for like chest. I like the control that it makes you have.
Very cool, man. So, I want to get back to, Andrew for a quick minute here. Talk to me a little bit about how he's just kind of helped you, you know, with your bodybuilding, you know, experience, your bodybuilding journey, so to speak. Like, how has he really kind of helped you progress as a bodybuilder, and what's it been like working with him specifically?
Well, it's been really good working with him, and we've become good friends. And he's always helped me out. And he's been through my situations with my stomach and my injuries and all that. And he's been always supportive. And when I told him I didn't want to do nationals, he agreed. And he understood why. And he's helped me out a lot. Like in the beginning, you know, I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. When I first sent him my check-in pictures, the first thing he said was, "You got to work on your posing because it's terrible." And it just helped me out little by little. And I've learned more and more from him. And I've been able to understand things. When you first work with someone like that and you never bodybuild, everything you say is like, what the hell is he talking about? But now I do understand the bulk majority of the things he says. And he's really big on health. And he does not one of those coaches that's just going to throw you out there and take this and take that and do this and do that and not care. He wants to make sure your health is intact the whole time, which I really like about that. You can't fucking bodybuild if your health is at risk. And you know, it's not worth it. A lot of people, they'll want to keep growing and making all this crazy progress and not think about the long term with what they're doing to their body. But he keeps me intact and will focus him. He's been really trying to help me out with my stomach. He's not overloading me with food right now, and just like have my stomach try to come back. And my stomach's been really good lately, so I'm hoping that eventually I'll get more food soon. I'm pretty hungry lately.
Right. What are you career wise, Corey? What do you have any goals? Do you have kind of a vision for what you want to do? I mean, career wise, excuse me. You know, in the future.
I really want to hopefully get the my coaching really big and get my name out there and being able to help others. That's always been a big thing I always wanted to do, but I took my time with learning with Andrew and trial and error before I just jumped right out there. And now I think I've learned a lot where I want to be able to help others and work on that. I joined my one friend who has Pride Fitness. He does coaching, and I'm going to start working with him as well. That's like a local training thing in my area. I'm going to try to do that and see how far that goes. I want to keep trying to make it into bodybuilding, hopefully get like sponsorships and work with companies over time in the future. Cause I know that's the big thing is if you get your name out there and you keep showing that you can make progress and win shows, that could happen. Maybe one day even open up a gym and go. That'd be really cool to have that, my own little bodybuilding gym. So my whole future, I would like it to be revolved around fitness. I really do enjoy it. I've worked so many different jobs. I've done construction, I've done delivery, and there's nothing that has ever sparked my interest until I started bodybuilding. Like construction was terrible, working 70, 80 hours a week. You make good money, but at the end of the day, you can't even function anymore. And bodybuilding is just, I don't know, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. You and me both when it comes to construction type work, man. I'm like, dude, no, thank you. My first job ever was laying asphalt right out of high school. I got fired from it after probably, I don't know, probably less than a month. And I was just like, dude, it was like June, and here in the Midwest, here in Iowa, it gets like crazy humid. And literally my first job ever, because my dad told me, he's like, hey, if you're playing sports, in high school, and all through, you don't have to work or anything. I'm like, cool, I'll, that's great. But as soon as I graduated, it's like, you gotta move out of the house. You gotta figure things out. Obviously I went to college, but that summer between high school graduation and freshman year in college, I tried to do asphalt, which I don't know what I was thinking, but it was horrible. And then I did some working on some like hod confinements. I've just done some other stuff here and there, and it's like, dude, like put me in a gym. That's where I want to be, because I don't want to do anything else in it. It sucks for sure. I hear you on that. So, all right, Corey, what's that? Go for it. What?
I was doing the water pipe construction, and it was really annoying because they want you to dig holes all day long, and I was like, that's just, your back feels like it got ran over with a freaking truck after a while. This construction, you make good money, but they literally abuse the shit out of you, and they don't care about how you feel, and that's just long term. I'm not trying. Every single person I worked with who was older all had crazy body injuries, and they all were like, "This is from construction." They all told me not to stay here and get out and take care of myself and don't be like them. So I took their warning and ran with it.
For sure, man. Social media, that seems to be obviously a big part of the fitness community nowadays and bodybuilding. It's changed the game from my perspective a lot. But how do you kind of utilize social media or Instagram specifically, kind of for your coaching purposes? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
It definitely serves a really good purpose for advertisement and getting your name out there, and gives people opportunities that a long time ago people didn't have. But then at the same time, it also opens up a lot of people who are fake, a lot of people who are going to hate on you. And the worst thing now that I see at the gyms that drives me nuts is the tripods. Like I understand people want to video their workouts, and that's cool, but some people, like, they'll like put their cameras on equipment and take up equipment, and they'll like take videos and then redo another video. And you just want to go to the gym and work out. You don't want to deal with that. So social media is good for, I think it's definitely good for getting your name out there and helping people make a name for themselves. But then at the same time, every single person is trying to get that attention. And a lot of people, they don't look the part, but they act the part. And they're just getting annoying, because you see somebody, you're just like, what are they doing? And it just looks crazy. I do enjoy social media, though, to get my name out there. And you meet a lot of interesting people who share the same goals and values as you do with bodybuilding. So, and I know that back then, if we didn't have social media, it would probably be a lot harder for me with social anxiety, because social media really has also helped me build some confidence too, being able to flex and post pictures and get good feedback. That does help me out, because I've always had with social anxiety, I kind of always beaten myself up. Like I was never good enough, no matter how good I look. I always thought the worst of myself. And I think social media has kind of helped me out a little bit to maybe see a better version of myself.
For sure, man. Do you kind of pay attention to I mean, do you pay attention to some of the other NPC athletes and like, do you pay attention to, like the USAs and North Americans earlier this year or not so much?
No, I did. I watched them. That was a big reason why I wanted to hold off on the show and I wanted to keep growing, because when you see guys who are 5'8", 5'9", the same height as you, and they weigh 20, 30 pounds more, it does give you a better understanding that you can't just walk right into a show at that level and expect to do good things. You just got to take your time and keep working hard, because I see a lot of people though be like, I'm gonna do one local show, they win, and then all of a sudden they feel like $1,000,000, and then they go do nationals, get annihilated, and they're like, "What the hell happened?" Like you're not ready. It's just no joke. That even just the national shows are no joke. The USA's, that's no joke, and then the nationals itself in Florida, that just high level shows. You got to really be ready for that, because you just can't just show up, spend $3,000-4,000, and then get annihilated. It's gonna big hit to your ego.
Right. Yeah, you can talk to Nate Spear about that, just the process and the grind, to get to the top, right?
Yep, he's worked very hard. Did nationals with him a couple of years ago, and he placed third at that show. And I know how hard he works, and he loves bodybuilding, because I understand, because I'm bodybuilding is my life, and I see it when I see somebody else that bodybuilds and treats it like I do. I know how hard they're going to work and how much they want it. So it was very nice when he finally got his pro card, because I know he works very hard, and he's definitely deserved to be able to compete at a pro level. I know he'll go very far. He works ridiculously hard with bodybuilding, and it shows.
Who are some of the current guys in the IFBB that you kind of look up to, or you admire their physiques, Corey?
I really admire Nate a lot. He's got he's probably one of the first people right now that I've, like, since when I met Andrew and I started competing. He was one of the first guys I met in person that I idolized a lot, big time. Just being able to see someone that big. When I first met him, I thought he was like 6 foot something, and then I saw, because he looked so big in his pictures. Then I saw him in person. He was the exact same height as me. I was like, holy crap, that was nuts. But I do really like Brett Wilkin a lot. I think he's been going really far. He looks crazy. I try to say he's probably one of the top guys right now that I've taken interest in watching. That he just looks better and better. I like Nick Walker too, of course. He's just a big guy. He's always not. It's just crazy when someone that big, to see them. It's just insane. I never seen him in person. It was like this massive object coming closer and closer to you as he walked.
He's originally from out in your neck of the woods, right? New Jersey or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, he's from New Jersey. Sometimes when I go to New Jersey, a lot of people will talk about him if I'm at a gym or something, like going like Signature Fitness. I've heard his name there a few times. He's a big boy.
And Sean Clarita, he's out there in New Jersey as well, right? You ever cross paths
Yeah,
with him?
I never have. No, he works out at the Signature Fitness. That's like I really like. That's like one of my favorite gyms I've ever seen is the Signature Fitness. I've never ran into him over there though. That would be nice to just to run into him over there, because I've watched I watched his progress from the very start. He was so small, and just everybody kept telling him, "You're never gonna make it. You're not gonna grow. It's just no chance. You're just too small." And then all of a sudden now he's got he proved everybody wrong. And he did what he needed to do. But just something like that's very impressive to me. So it's when someone, no matter what anybody says, you don't give a shit and you just keep pushing day in and day out, and then you show everybody that you don't need their. It doesn't matter what they say. You're going to do it regardless.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here, Corey. I want to kind of finish with this question. What's kind of the biggest thing that you've learned from bodybuilding, or kind of like up to this point as an adult? What do you feel like the biggest takeaway for yourself personally from bodybuilding has been?
But the biggest thing I could say is, if you're able to wake up every day and enjoy what you do and have your health and be injury free, you're very lucky. Because I've seen people bodybuild that have had horrible things happen, and it's all been taken away, and life can change in the blink of an eye. And I've always believed that every day you live, even if it's your worst day is someone's best day. So you just got to every day just be positive and just keep working hard, and eventually everything you want it will happen, as long as you have that mindset to never give up. And with bodybuilding, it has shown me a lot that you got to just work hard. And when it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. There's going to be days you want to just say, well, I'm done. I don't want to do this, but you just got to remind yourself that this is what it is and you signed up for it. So that's what I would say for bodybuilding. That's taught me a lot in that aspect.
Love it, man. Are you, do you know Justin O'Donnell?
I do know him actually. He competed at the very first show that I did. It was freaking huge.
Yeah, yeah, he's looking crazy big, man, down there in Florida now, huh?
Yeah, he's doing really good. I met him at Connecticut, my very first show I ever did. He was very nice. I've talked to him here and there on Instagram. He's always been a very nice guy, and I know he'll go very far as well. He's gotten pretty freaking big. Very intelligent.
Do you know Chris Fine? He's out there in New York, I think. Do you know who he is?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Okay. Look him up on Instagram. He's out there, I think, in New York, and he was he was in the first call outs, I believe, at nationals in super heavies, I think, this last year. So super passionate dude about bodybuilding. I think you two would love to connect. So all right, Corey, we're gonna kind of wrap it up there. I think we had a thorough conversation, man. We touched on some of your life and got into the bodybuilding, of course. So before I do a quick outro, if you want to leave us with any final thoughts or any final words, any shout outs, make sure you give us your Instagram. I'm going to turn it over to you. Platform's yours, and then I'll do a quick outro and we'll end it there. So whatever you want to leave us with, go for it, Corey.
Yeah, of course. My Instagram handle is Lift Forever 9100. And for the shout outs, I had to shout out my parents. Of course, they've always been very supportive of me, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things I've been able to do in my life without them. They've always been there for me with my ups and downs, because life can be crazy. And I'm very lucky to have such supportive parents like I do. And I have a very supportive girlfriend also as well, who has been there for me. And it's very nice to be able to have that as well, with family, having a girl that both support you and want you to succeed. So it's nice to have both of that. And just want to say with bodybuilding, just if you want to do bodybuilding, give it a try and see how you like it. And if it becomes your passion, just don't give up and keep at it, because one day, you could be 120 pounds one day, and then all of a sudden 250 on stage, and all that hard work you put in paid off.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe they're in your area, Corey, in terms of coaching and all that, is Instagram the best way for them to do that?
Yes, Instagram is definitely the best way. Okay. Easiest way to contact.
Cool. All right, Corey, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I'm going to do a really quick outro and then I'll let you go. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you and I value all of you. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button in terms of Behind the Muscle podcast on YouTube. That's really important because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube. Then also, please take this episode with Corey, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Corey. Go ahead and tag Corey's coach, Andrew Berry. And why don't you go ahead, tag Nate Spear as well. And then don't forget to also tag us, Behind the Muscle podcast, so that we know you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.
Thank you. Have a good one.